prison, was into serious drugs, and at one point had resigned himself to a life really not worth living. But then he met someone who took a chance on him. I interviewed him recently, but first, here's how Freddie settled for more.
I was born and raised in Charlotte, North Carolina. My mother and my grandmother raised me and my sisters and my brothers.
Freddie Sherrill dropped out of school in the 3rd grade.
Instead of me going to school, I would go to grocery stores and steal food to take it home to my mother to help to feed my sisters and brothers.
At 16, Freddie started using drugs.
I was introduced to marijuana, and then as I got a little older, I was introduced to cocaine, and my life just exploded from there.
Freddie was in and out of juvenile detention centers, then prison.
I just thought it was the normal lifestyle because that's all I knew growing up. When I was 27 years old, I started living outside on the streets. Not only was I homeless, but I began to eat out of garbage cans and dumpsters.
Now married, Freddie was living in a halfway house, becoming sober, and he met a pastor who changed his life.
His name was Dr. Steve Eason, and he asked me what did I know how to do. And for the first time in my life, I told the truth. I say nothing. And you know, I say all my life, all I've done was lie, steal, cheat, use drugs, drink alcohol, and spend time in prison. And Dr. Eason told me that, he said, I'm gonna give you one chance. If I smell mouthwash on your breath, that's it. The hardest thing I ever done in my life was ask somebody to help me.
Joining me now, Freddie Sherrill, along with Pastor Eason, who has played a pivotal role in helping Freddie turn his life around. Thank you both so much for being here. So, Freddie, you're very open about the fact that you did not have a great childhood, didn't have a father figure in your life, weren't treated well. And is it true at one point you actually committed a crime so you would get thrown back into prison?
Yes, ma'am. One night, it was real cold outside. I had on short sleeve shirt, holes in my shoes. And I had this idea that if I go uptown and throw a brick through a window, the police would come and get me, and I would go to jail.
Where you would be fed and you would be, warm, I guess.
Yeah, I could be warm for the night, and I would get a good breakfast the next morning.
Did it get so bad you considered taking your own life?
The next morning when I was in jail, I went to court, and I had been to court so many times before, and I just knew that I would spend some time in jail. But the judge told me I didn't belong in jail, so he let me go. And I was devastated because I had nowhere to go. And when I walked out of the jail that day, I decided that I would blow my brains out because I was tired of hurting everybody.
Oh, my goodness.
And I had a .25 automatic pistol. I put to my head, I pulled the trigger and the gun wouldn't go off. But then I threw the gun down on the ground and started crying, and the gun said, pow, pow, pow.
Wow. Incredibly, you managed to get yourself into this halfway house, and your wife stuck by you. And then you meet this guy. And let me just start with you, Pastor. What made you, because Freddie talks about how you trusted him. You made the decision to trust him. Why?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, isn't it? I mean, it's like he said that, and then I went, well, okay, you're hired. You know what I mean? A lady in my church in Morganton, North Carolina, Jane Mackerel, brought Freddie by, and her husband had met Freddie at AA, and they had given him a job pulling grass in their yard. And she said, is there anything up at the church he might be able to do? And I think maybe she just wanted, wash windows, move something around, but not a job. So she brought him up, and I said, well, what are you qualified to do? And as he said in the clip, lie, cheat, steal, drink, go to prison. But there was something, it was authentic. There was something authentic about him. I didn't feel like he was conning me. You weren't conning me, were you?
It worked, didn't it?
Yeah.
Been a pretty good long con, if so.
That's the longest con in history. But every year, Freddie gives me his AA chip. And I brought this chip. 29 years sober.
As it does for so many people, that can help make all the difference. But Freddie's sobriety and help from Pastor Eason was not even half the story, because what he would go on to do after getting himself standing on his own 2 feet will stun you. That's next. Welcome back, everyone. So Freddie Sherrill was a homeless ex-con and did not see a future for himself. Then he met Pastor Steve Eason, and that, as it turned out, made all the difference, helping him, among other things, to engage more in the lives of his children and in his own life. Watch. He tried to get your GED how many times?
It took me 6 times to get my GED. And on the
A lot of people would have given up.
At one point.
A lot of people would have given up on time 1. You went back 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and on the 6th time, what happened?
I passed about 1 point.
Okay. But that was not enough. You wanted more. So you managed this man, who now we've been introduced to just with these colorful adjectives and these descriptions, manages to get himself an associate's degree, right, at college?
It took me 13 years to get an associate's degree at Western Piedmont Community College in human community service with a concentration in substance abuse.
And again, I think a lot of people would have said, I'm good. Hold on. Just hold on. Because that wasn't enough either. And why don't you tell the audience what happened last week?
Last week, by the grace of God, I was able to graduate from Queen's University of Charlotte with a bachelor's degree in human service.
It's amazing. That's amazing. For that. You guys are great, too.
Took statistics 3 times.
When you look at this guy over here, what has he meant to you along this journey?
Don't make me cry.
Even though I'm a year or 2 older than Dr. Eason, but that's the father figure that I never had. Not only did he give me a job at First Presbyterian Church in Morganton, he was the first person that took me to a bank and showed me how to open up a savings account and a checking account.
Honestly, to me, that's what the story is about. Like, all you need is one person.
Yep.
To believe in you, to take a chance on you, to trust you.
One door.
To help you. That's it. So good for you for doing it, and to you for walking through it. By the way, what are we doing? Are we doing Masters next? What are we? We're good?
President of the United States.
Thank you both so much for being here. Thank you.
Hello, Today fans. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking that button down there and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives.